You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Premiering exclusively on Paramount Plus tomorrow, September 17th. Nothing But a Good Time. The uncensored story of 80s hair metal is a 3-part series that showcases the notoriously wild 80s hard rock phenomenon and features interviews with those who lived it.
In the 80s, it was an exciting time in music. It was amazing.
You had to have lived it.
Go all the way. More hair, more clothes, tighter pants. That is what rock and roll is about.
This heavy metal music, is all of it bad?
To me, they're all satanic. I don't want anything to do with it.
On tour, every human depravity came out.
He's throwing meat and blood at the audience.
I wanted to play so hard that my hands would bleed. I would have blood on my snare all the time.
He modified the codpiece and put explosives in it. We just heard a big boom. The thing backfired into his balls.
They made it seem so awesome to just have sex and do drugs.
It was nothing but a good time, not the life I lived.
I feel like I'm going to die, so I probably shouldn't be in this band.
When you have that level of dominance, there's nowhere else really to go except for off the cliff.
Randy winds up taking a joyride.
I'm awakened by boom! That I was going to take care of him. I brought him back home in a box.
I had to change my life, get back on track. The music withstood the test of time.
They really changed the game.
We bet on ourselves, and when it paid off, it was awesome.
You didn't realize what a magical time you were in.
Nothing But a Good Time. The uncensored story of 80s hair metal was directed and produced by Jeff Tremaine, co-creator of the MTV reality show Jackass, and he joins me now on the show. Jeff, thank you for coming on tonight. Let's go back to the 80s. What's up?
Not much. What's happening?
Hey, I'm getting ready to have some fun with you. For those who didn't live it, what is hair metal? Is it the same as glam metal, glam rock? Is it something else? What makes it what it is?
Yeah, it is. I mean, glam is another word for it. It's basically the metal scene that was born on the Sunset Strip in probably 1981. Born out of the whiskey and the music scene that was happening right there. But it spans like Motley Crue, Poison, Guns N' Roses, Warrant, Quiet Riot. There's a ton of bands that it covers. So it's a whole era.
You know the genre, obviously, you know the era. You've told the story of Motley Crue. You know how to tell these types of stories. But Nothing But a Good Time, the uncensored story of 80s hair metal, includes a lot of luminaries who lived it, who played it, who were fans of it. Who should we expect to see and hear in this 3-part series?
You get to hear from Bret Michaels, how, they bet on themselves. Poison worked really hard getting out here and, put out their own record. It sold 3 million copies on basically they did everything. It was incredible. But we get to hear from Jack Russell, the singer of Great White, who just recently passed away, telling some of the most outrageous stories I've ever heard. Right as he joined Great White, or it was called Dante Fox back then, he thought it was a good idea as a teenager to rob cocaine dealers. So he would go and basically do these armed robberies on these coke dealers, and accidentally shot one of the housekeepers, or shouldn't say accidentally, but he wasn't aiming at her. He shot through a door, but got arrested and did time as a teenager. And then right when he got out, joined back in with Dante Fox. They became Great White, became this huge notorious band. And he was amazing to tell these stories. So I'm really glad we were able to get him and to get him to tell these stories vibrantly before he passed. So
I mean this very respectfully. You talk about some of the, my word, crazy stories and experiences that these artists lived through. And I remember it growing up as far as this music being part of the soundtrack of my life. But I mean this respectfully. How is it possible that more of these artists didn't end up dead given their lifestyle?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, a lot of them did, unfortunately, and like I said, Jack Russell passed away. Another guy named Stephen Riley, he was the drummer of Wasp and also L.A. Guns, and he passed away. But we got to interview him. He told these amazing stories of just the early days of Wasp. And I don't know if you remember Wasp, but they had this outrageous early stage show. And one of the funniest stories is like Blackie Lawless used to wear these circular saw blades over his codpiece. So he'd have this like giant saw blade, and they didn't know how to make those because it was tempered steel. The saw blade, you can't just cut a saw blade because it's really strong. So one of their friends worked at Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which was where rockets were made, and they had these rocket scientists tell them how to cut the saw blade so he could wear it over his penis, basically. Some of our greatest minds working together to.
I know young people may be listening to this conversation and they don't have firsthand memories of that era, but I lived through it. You lived through it. And a philosophical question. MTV music videos were ever present and huge back in the 1980s. How might this story been different if the hair metal revolution was during the age of YouTube instead of MTV?
I don't know how to, I don't know how to answer that because I can't, it's just evolved. It's hard to say what mattered, but this scene was definitely visual. And as MTV was born at the same time as this scene, these guys were definitely perfect to showcase not just the music, but how outrageous they looked, right? It worked out perfectly with MTV. And MTV was probably part of how it pushed into such an extreme version of it, right? So I don't know. I don't know how it would happen with YouTube. It could still happen, but I don't know. The world's changed quite a bit, right? So it's and there definitely weren't a lot of cameras rolling behind the scenes back then. So maybe that perpetuated some of the craziness that I don't know if it exists nowadays or not, but it definitely existed back then. And I think partially it's because there weren't cameras all the time.
No, that's a great point. Because I worked in the music industry for about 13, 14 years in the 90s, and it was just understood. Parties, you weren't allowed to bring physical cameras. The camera phones didn't exist. It's just kind of understood. What happens here stays here.
Right.
Do you think that, well, let me ask you this. How do you think cameras then have changed how musicians have acted?
I think, everybody has to, they're a little more accountable for everything they do because everybody's got a video camera, and that's a blessing and a curse, right? Like I do a show called Ridiculousness where everybody's just catching every crazy thing that happens on camera, and we get to show people that. But I don't know, you just definitely have to be a little more guarded these days with how you behave, so.
You talked about how this genre, this explosion of music started in the early 1980s, maybe even 1980. Where did the hair come from? Where did the makeup come from? Was there a singular artist that people kind of imitated, or is it already on the scene and it just was a natural evolution?
Yeah, I think it never went away, right? It was there from the 70s. And then this scene was definitely, let's call Van Halen sort of the godfather of the scene. Like they blew up off the Sunset Strip and kind of took off, but the door shut behind them. There wasn't a whole scene following them. Like right when that happened, Van Halen blew up in the late 70s, but right then like new wave was starting to pop off. So there was a lot more interest in that. Like the old rock and roll style was definitely dying, but there was bands like Guns N' Roses. I mean, not Guns N' Roses. There was bands like Quiet Riot who were still on the Strip, like same time as Van Halen, grinding away, just good old rock and roll, like metal basically. And then Motley Crue sort of blew up. They connected with a new audience that really loved them, and I think their look was influenced sort of by the punk scene. I'd say New York Dolls, a band like New York Dolls, definitely. To some of their desire to wear some of their hair as outrageous as they did in the makeup. I think there was a New York Dolls influence for sure, but I don't know. And then it just perpetuated. The scene was happening around. It wasn't just those bands, but there was, bands like Wasp still like lurking around in the shadows, and Rat was coming up. So I don't know.
Can't wait. Nothing but a good time. The Uncensored Story of 80s Hair Metal is a 3-part series which premieres tomorrow, Tuesday, on Paramount Plus, and it's directed and produced by Jeff Tremaine, my guest right now. Jeff, congratulations, and I definitely will be checking this out and walking through my own history thanks to you.
Hey, great. I appreciate it. Yeah.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Let's talk movies. Beetlejuice is still number one. It brought in $51.3 million this last weekend. Has legs, as they say. Worldwide gross of $264 million. And since the summer is pretty much over, that's a good way for theaters to end. This is something that can stay in theaters for quite some time. It's just its second week, but it may stay all the way through the rest of September. It had a screen average, which we don't talk about a lot, but for a second week, a screen average of 11,000 per screen. That's pretty damn good. Coming in number 2 is Speak No Evil. You heard Mark Ronner review that on Friday in the Ronner Report with, I'll say, a healthy $11.4 million. It couldn't have cost that much to make. It did $9 million internationally for a total of $20.8 million its first week. It will turn a profit, I assume, with the exception of maybe James McAvoy's fee. He's the only bankable name in the movie. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, that's correct. The budget was apparently $15 million, so they've already cleared that.
Okay, 1.5. Okay, yeah, they're in the clear. Coming in at number 3 is some movie I've never heard of. It's Am I Racist? Not me, because y'all say that I'm racist. I'm talking about the movie. It says Am I Racist? That's the name of it. It's a man investigates diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, exposing absurdities through undercover social experiments. Came in at number 3 with $4.5 million. Hadn't heard of it.
Are you sure that's number 3? Because
yeah,
I'm not seeing that either.
At 4 point, because Deadpool Wolverine was $5.2 million. So I think that was number 3.
It just says September 13th through 15th.
I think you've been hacked.
No, I'm saying, look, it says domestic 2024 weekend 37, September 13th through the 15th. It shows Deadpool Wolverine at 3.8 million.
Nah, dog.
Look at my computer.
I'm looking at it. I'm just saying, I think that you've been hacked.
No, I'm not. I'm
just to ask, are you racist?
Look.
I think that's what
it shows. Beetlejuice number 1, Speak No Evil number 2, Am I Racist number 3, Deadpool Wolverine number 4, Reagan at number 5, The Killer's Game at number 6, Alien Romulus at 7, 8, It Ends With Us, 9, The Forge, 10, God's Not Dead and God We Trust. That was a Fathom Events presentation.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, look, I'm going by Box Office Mojo. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
look, Box Office Mojo isn't racist, so.
Damn you. Look, I'm saying I've never heard of the movie, whether you say it came in 3rd or 4th. Never heard of it.
Or does it exist?
No, well, see, it was only on 1,500 screens, but it still managed to bring in $4.5 million.
That seems like a lot.
I'm seeing 1 million here on.
It says 4.5 for the weekend. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I hadn't heard of it before you mentioned it just now, and now that I'm looking it up, it's from some
questionable.
From IMDb, it says, from the white guys who brought you What is a Woman?
Okay. So it's a political movie.
It's from the usual suspects of certain well-known propaganda sites.
Okay. Deadpool and Wolverine, 3.8 million this week for a total of 1.3 billion. I think that's about as far as it'll go.
Box Office Mojo is busted because Variety has Deadpool Wolverine at 5.2 this weekend.
Well, I don't know if it included the look. That's what it says. Okay.
I got you. Okay. I got you. All
right. Reagan came in number 5 with 2.9 million.
Yeah.
Killer's Game 2.7 million.
And see, your list, Box Office Mojo doesn't have My Old Ass on there.
What?
My Old Ass.
Wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
The movie. It's the movie. Yes.
Yeah.
My Old Ass. Yes.
It actually seems kind of funny. I remember seeing the trailer.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
It has My Old Ass as number 20 on this list.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Maybe there's some data missing. All right. I can't say. But anyhow, so Speak No Evil, according to Mark Ronner, I can go ahead and wait for that to watch at home.
It's enjoyable, but I don't see any compelling reason for you to rush out to see it in a big screen.
Mm-hmm. Am I Racist? Pretty sure I'll skip that. Deadpool, Wolverine, already seen it. Reagan, I probably will watch that, but I'm usually hesitant to watch movies about people that I have some degree of familiarity with in real life. You know, I like Dennis Quaid, but I remember Ronald Reagan, so it's probably not going to match up. The Killer's Game, no interest. Seen Alien Romulus, It Ends With Us, no real interest. The Forge, we'll probably get around to that. And Despicable Me 4 came in at number 11. I haven't seen any of the Despicable Me movies.
You're all right.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I know Mark Ronner hasn't because that's juvenile.
I am an adult, yes.
Now, I'm sad that none of you all saw Dan to Dan this weekend. It was a limited release, but Dan to Dan was phenomenal. It will be on Crunchyroll, I believe, in October, but the theatrical release had a preview from the creators, the director, the voice talent, the director. Phenomenal anime series turned into a short film about the occult. It's got action. It's got romance. It is an incredibly creepy.
I don't think of anime as having romance. I think of this anime as having nudity and porn.
Well, no. And
tentacles.
No,
yeah.
And this wasn't.
Same scene.
This one had a burgeoning romance between two unlikely protagonists.
With tentacles?
There weren't tentacles, but there was a demonic grandmother who would take your manhood, literally.
So there was nudity?
No, well, this young man lost it all. And that's what the series is about, him trying to get it back.
But you do make a great point, because instead of going to the movies, there are so many other things competing for our time. For example, I spent this weekend starting season 2 of The Old Man.
Oh,
which one with Jeff Bridges?
Oh, The Old Man.
The Old Man. Yes.
Okay, so it's on point.
Well, the first episode was kind of a lot of walking, a lot of talking, a lot of review, and I said, we'll see where it goes. And also Tulsa King season 2 is out there. Frank Grillo. Oh, it's good. Trust me.
I watched the first episode or two, and I couldn't stop staring at whatever he did with his hair, and I just decided,
that's
I'm
too.
out.
But hang with it just a little longer. Let Stallone start turning into the mafioso that he was before he went to prison.
Leave his tube alone.
That's not a tube.
It's not a tube. That's
his rub.
That's surgery. It's permanent.
Yeah.
Okay. That ain't going anywhere.
Leave his implants alone.
Okay, you're saying that over and above whatever that hair system is, it gets better?
Yeah. Look, hair notwithstanding, I'm not pushing it aside because the hairline is a little low.
It's down to his eyebrows.
Yeah, it's a little low.
Less is more.
The series is really good. And I've said this before, I am far more appreciative of Stallone as an actor this point in his career. Like he did the most recent Rambo. It's all about the acting. It's not about the gore and, cutting up people. When he did his work in Creed, he's a solid actor, and he doesn't get enough credit for just his acting, and Tulsa King brings that out.
Now, did either of you see the 2-part HBO documentary about David Chase and The Sopranos?
No, I did not.
Worth the watch.
Okay. All right. I'll take you up on that. Even though you're usually wrong about stuff, I'll take you up on it.
Except for the ending, just like with the TV series.
Come on. No, I heard it actually explains the ending of the TV series.
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody except to say that I literally shouted at the TV as the end credits rolled on this documentary.
Don't tell me they did the exact same thing.
I shouted a dirty, filthy word.
Don't tell me they did the exact same thing as the ending of the show.
I can't tell you, but
okay.
Did your curse word start with mother?
That's all I'm going to say.
Or God.
That's it.
All I'm saying is when I was watching the series finale of, I know we got to go to break, but this is more important. When we were watching the series finale of The Sopranos, and I'm real big on series finales. I need you to explain some things, tie some things up, because we're not going to see these characters again.
Oh, it determines the worth of the whole show that you've spent years watching.
Absolutely, because it leaves the final taste in your mouth. And I remember The Sopranos because of that final scene in that restaurant diner thing. And to this day, I'm still angry about it.
You should be. It is justified.
And I don't want interpretive meanings and, what it might have happened or what it suggested. Like the last episode of Lost. Like, what the frick was that?
That was the all-time worst. That was a war crime. People need to go on trial for that still.
No, to me, nothing is worse than that trash ending for that Dragon series, which was horrible.
You mean House of
Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
Game of Thrones?
The Dragon series, that was trash. Burn HBO Max to the ground for that ending.
Yeah, the ending sucked.
Yeah, it did. I mean, 2 things can be true. In this case, 3 things can be true. All those endings were bad. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, but we have good news on the other side. Eating grasshoppers might improve your sleep and your sex. I know. That's next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Researchers divided 216 rats, evenly divided, 108 males, 108 females, into 3 groups of 72 each. Each group received a different diet: grasshopper meal, fish meal, or a protein deficient diet. And they watched these rats over 12 weeks. And during that time, the researchers measured various health indicators. They weighed the rats weekly, examined hair samples under a microscope, monitored sleep patterns using special sensors, and observed sexual behaviors through video recordings. That's intrusive. No privacy at all. It's not nice.
Unsavory.
And they also tested urine and fecal pH to assess digestive health.
Also unsavory.
Here are the key results, and here is how this study applies to you at home or in your car or wherever you're listening. The grasshopper diet led to significant improvements across multiple health measures. Rats on the grasshopper diet showed increased sexual activity with more frequent mounting and intro. Who wrote this?
Mounting?
Yes.
And intromission behaviors. I don't even know what intromission means. I guess it's not intermission.
It's rat style.
No. No. Way too late.
Come on, give it to him.
He's learning.
Also, the grasshopper diet led to sleeping longer, which probably is a function of having more sex. You know.
This is what I hear.
Gaining about 12 extra hours of sleep per week compared to the protein deficient group.
Mm-hmm.
Hair quality was dramatically better, with over 94% of hairs examined showing ideal characteristics. Mm-hmm. Body weight was healthier, and digestive health indicators were more balanced.
Nice.
But I don't see, where's this overlap between rat physiology and human physiology?
It's in there. Keep reading.
It's important to note that this study was conducted on rats and results may not directly translate to humans. The sample size, while reasonable for an animal study, is still relatively small. The study duration of 12 weeks provides insight into short-term effects, but long-term impacts remain unknown. And additionally, the study focused on a single species of grasshopper, and effects may vary with other insect species. Look, I am not going to eat ground up grasshoppers to help my libido or help me sleep at night.
Okay, what if it's capsules?
Let me say it in English. I am not eating, ingesting, or taking internally grasshoppers to help improve my sex life or my sleep.
What about grasshopper oil? Like if you rub grasshopper oil on yourself.
Okay, let me say this in Spanish. No.
Maybe It's only 50% of the vote at your place. What about the other 50 voting percent?
Hey, it takes two to tango. Okay. If the other half wants to go solo on this adventure, that's up to her.
What if it's like mixed into like healthy green?
Okay, let me see. Let me try another language. Yet.
No. Mo,
correct.
Look,
no.
Okay, look.
We've had this discussion before. I don't eat insects, not willingly or knowingly.
This isn't about eating. This is about just ingesting for better libido, better quality of hair. I mean, all sleeping longer.
Yeah, where do you get this stuff? Let's have some.
Okay, yeah, okay. Look, I am at a point in my life where hair grows where it's not supposed to. No, that's a statement of fact. It's not a joke. I was trying to be funny. See, you're so young. You don't know what it's like to walk by the mirror and realize hair grows there. It's a very, very, very unsettling realization.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I said, I will rue the day when hair starts growing out of my nose. Well, I'm ruining the day. It's not fun. It's not funny. And then when the hair is growing, regardless of where it's growing, it turns gray. And that is really, really unsettling. I'm just letting you know, Elmer, what's in store for you.
I had a weird hair grow on my shoulder.
So much to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
He seems unconcerned.
Yeah, Grecian formula on your nose hair, that's not cool. That's not an option.
Is that?
What? You don't know what Grecian formula is?
No.
Oh, come on.
Grecian? It's like Greek?
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
I am so hurt. And how old are you?
I'm 31.
If I said hair for men, would that ring a bell?
Oh, just
Like
for men. Just for
Bosley?
men.
Just for men.
Like Bosley?
That's the hair club. Oh, my gosh. Oh, the Bosley group.
And that's why I like some trivia for you, isn't it?
But back to the study. No, I'm not eating grasshopper anything. This is not Snowpiercer. I'm not doing it.
I think you should order some for the group, and we should all take it for a test drive.
If it's just
see
gel
what it
caps,
does.
if it's gel caps, that's almost like having your daily vitamin dose.
Look, I've heard about similar studies, and the researchers suggest that the unique nutritional profile of grasshoppers, particularly in its rich amino acid content, contributes to the observed health benefits. They highlight the potential of insect-based diets as a sustainable and nutritious food source, especially in regions where these insects are already part of traditional diets. Here, it's not part of the traditional diet. No, thank you. Don't thank you. You're the one who had grasshopper cookies.
I did. Those were cricket cookies.
Whatever. Crickets, grasshoppers, they got to be the same genus, phylum, order.
I've had grasshopper, and it's not bad.
It's not good.
Just throw a little seasoning on them.
No, it's seriously not bad. Like seriously, it's the chicken.
I don't do insects. Sorry, and I barely do meat anymore.
Well, then it's time for you to move over to insects. It's a healthier meat alternative.
Or how about just vegetarian?
It's the way of the future. It's either Soylent Green or the bugs. Pick one.
Well, it ain't going to be the bugs. You better trick me some other way because I am not going the route of Snowpiercer. I refuse. I was repulsed by that.
What about in a shake?
An insect shake?
Mixed up with something else. With
That's
some
like cockroach milk.
Yes. Now we're talking?
Throw some in a stir fry, you won't even notice.
Yeah, I know. And that's why there's some places of the world, I'm just not going because someone may try to feed me some grasshopper soup or something, and we'll have a misunderstanding. Can't have that.
Maybe it'll make you jump higher.
Elmer, if you give him a rim shot for that, that's right. Move your hand away. We'll talk to George Norman when we come back. We'll ask him whether he's eaten insects.
Try him.
KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we'll also say goodbye to Tito Jackson, who passed away yesterday at the age of 70.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Coast to Coast AM with the George Norrie. George, got a quick question for you. Would you be willing to try anything insect related as a food? Grasshoppers, crickets, anything like that?
Not in your life.
Thank you. That my man, 50 grand, and someone finally has some reason. Thank you.
No insects, no cockroaches, nothing.
Thank you, George, for restoring my faith in humanity.
Tonight on the show, we're talking about Mo Kelly eating bugs.
Or we're talking about how Mo Kelly will never eat bugs. Never. Not consciously, not intentionally.
If you ever get to that point, I'll lend you the money for food, all right?
You know, there's some times where I think about this. If I were ever stranded on some island or, you know, if stuck in the jungle, I'd just die because I'm not putting grubs and stuff in my mouth. I'm not. No.
Catch a fish or something like that.
I'll try, but I'll probably die. I'm not an outdoorsy person.
Absolutely. Anyways, on the show tonight, we're going to talk about medical mistakes and then later on the spirit world on Coast to Coast.
All right. We'll be checking you out. Talk soon, George. And before we go, I wanted to leave just a moment to say goodbye to Tito Jackson. You've heard the news by now. One of the original members of the Jackson 5 who passed away yesterday at the age of 70. I never got to work with Tito, but my fondest memory would be seeing Tito and the other members of the Jackson 5 perform at Dodger Stadium in 1984 as part of the, I think it was the Victory Tour. And to see the Jacksons perform up close, I was in maybe the 10th row, had these great seats. It's me and my friend from across the street, Sean Larson, who later would become my best man at my wedding. We got to see the Jacksons, all of them up close during pretty much the last portion of their heyday together. And it's a memory I would never forget. And Tito Jackson, although people have made fun of him in comparison to the other Jacksons, you know, you had like the Chris Tucker jokes about, I'm Michael Jackson, you Tito. And Tito was always the Jackson that people wanted to point fingers at. But actually, he was very, very talented as a guitarist. Of course, all the Jacksons were talented, but he was very talented as an instrumentalist. And I don't think he got his due for that. In fact, he was trying to, had varying levels of success to pass on his successful legacy to his three sons. And if you knew his triplet sons, they were called 3T. Had some success, but you could tell that he was about the music more than anything. He was not a person who was out front. He was not trying to be a star, but he was about the music and he was about the family legacy. And if you don't know, the word is that he died of a heart attack while driving from New Mexico to Oklahoma. He had a home in Oklahoma, and I know he had some business projects in Oklahoma. And it was sad for me because I was thinking about, you think about people's families, and nobody's family has been like the Jacksons. All of the tumult, all the issues that the family has had in a very public view they've been in the public eye for at least 55, 60 years. I remember watching them on Merv Griffin and Dinah Shore when I was a very young child. I think that was the first time I saw them on TV because that's about the only place you could see them on TV when you had those types of appearances. I don't remember seeing them on Soul Train or American Bandstand, but I do remember seeing them on Dinah Shore. And I know, Mark, you remember Dinah Shore.
Well, weirdly, Mike Douglas also had some of the biggest rockers of the era, and Mike Douglas was not exactly the hippest dude on the planet.
No, but there were fewer spaces and places for these groups to go. And if you were big time, you would end up on daytime television on one of these shows. And that's what I remember seeing them. And they were larger than life. And I know that was said so often, but the Jacksons truly were larger than life. And you knew all of them. I had every single record of the Jackson 5, which turned into the Jacksons. And then obviously Michael went solo and the brothers did their own thing. Jermaine had a solo career for a while. Marlon did some things solo, and even Tito through other family members. But all that fame didn't mean that everything was great in the Jackson household. And my point here as we sign off tonight, I hope that Tito was at a place of peace, because you don't have tomorrows. They say tomorrow's not promised. I don't know if he was feeling unwell in the days leading up to now when he had that, what is thought to be a heart attack while he was driving. But, you know, you just never know when your time is. And I hope that he had some degree of peace with his family and other issues before he left up out of here, because we don't have any say in the matter. We can't predict it. We can only try to hope that we have some degree of clarity and can see it coming when the end comes for all of us. But for the Jacksons, which has always been, I would say, a sad story beyond the fame, this just adds to the sadness of that story. And I wish that there's better for the Jackson family going forward. It's Later with Mo Kelly. Tito Jackson gone at the age of 70.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.